Well, here we are on the Tunnel of Memory and Tolerance in the Museum of Mexican History, and I'm going to show you a little bit this tunnel. Well, here is talking about the genocide on Europe, the propaganda, the terror, the Second World War, and here are some countries in which remember us, the tolerance and the memory. In the other side, we have some reflection and historical characters that show us the tolerance and the memory we can have with our human beings.
Tolerancia basically is some kind of memorial for us to remind the catastrophic events that the human species has suffered during the last centuries. We first have here the tolerance that consists in respect and acceptance. That's the first thing that is promoted by Tunnel of Tolerancia. Then we have stereotype and prejudgment, then discrimination, and then the power of the word. Stereotypes are basically some sort of like a simplified vision of a specific group of people, and that's it. Like now, discrimination, it's basically margining a group of people or a individual for his religion or his tone of skin or some sort of bad things. Now we have the power of the word. Basically, it's about how much influence a speech can do in a group of people, and that's very important. Like the way you can persuade a group of people, it's amazing through a speech.
Another example of a genocide, like that is not the Holocaust, will be what happened in Rwanda with the case of the Hutu and the Tutsis. This shows us that the power of hate and prejudgments can really make a genocide. What happened is that the Belgian colonizers divided the population into different categories. There were the Tutsis and the Hutus, and with the power also of the church, they said that the Tutsis had more power, that they should govern Rwanda. So in 1950, the Tutsis started to look for their own independence. But then the Belgian colonizers didn't want that, so for that they decided to take the power of the Tutsis and give it to the Hutus. So now the Hutus are the upper society. So finally, in 1962, the independence of Rwanda was achieved with the Hutus in power. But the hate is still nowadays, the Hutus hating the Tutsis for they wanted the power and only for them. So this conflict of hate is always has always happened, and it's still happening today.
In Mexico, there are different types of discrimination, or like different genres. One example is the gender discrimination. An example is that women are the most discriminated group in Mexico. So a lot of rights are like denied because they are only women. Feminicide consists of the massive killing of women because the difference in capacity between women and men. Another subject of discrimination in Mexico is the people that are different from other people. Like these are discapacities. Another subject for discrimination in Mexico are the people with disabilities. There are different disabilities that consist of physically, sensorials, mentals, and intellectuals. The people with disabilities consists of the 5% of the total population in Mexico. Okay, now the third most discriminated group are the older people. The older people are normally associated with diseases or inefficiency, and all these are like stereotypes that limit the life of these persons. Okay, now another type of discrimination in Mexico is racism and classism. These type of discriminations are normally by how the citizens look or the people. The racism is they have a different treaty because they are like a different social or ethnic group. And here a statistic by INEGI says that 6 of 10 indigenous people they are not recognized like in Mexico.